you.
Yeah, thank you. I think
He's going to play the cymbals too. He was practicing.
Doing it all.
Yeah, that's like the,
Maybe that would be
the symphony solo.
that
is
would be
pretty
maybe
good
the
too,
encore
so.
or something. Not on the program.
Okay, welcome everyone. It's possible that a couple more people may still come, but that are expected, but we'll get started on time anyway. So I want to welcome everyone here. I know it's a big crowd, but you can see like Schubert had a big crowd with standing room only. So if we get too many people, I made room in the back row. They can stand back there. So I want to welcome everybody here as either a neighbor, friend, colleague, or relative, or a teacher, and some combination of the above. So I want to welcome you all. And I especially want to welcome my teacher, Vicki King. And she's here from Bloomington with her husband, Thomas King. And he's going to also be, we'll see him later in the program as well as Vicki too. But let's see who else. I should especially welcome my sister here, Michelle, who's we're having it today because this is the day that she was going to be here. And she's here that day because along with a lot of the family, because her husband is here, Reed, and his mother, Roz, so we're very glad to have them, and it's a big family affair with my niece and Allison and her new husband, and so we welcome them here too. My old boss and friend from like how many decades ago, I don't know, almost 40 years or something, 35 years.
78.
Yeah. So Russ Hemley. So and everyone here, and Keith is also a member of the Merrill family. So here from Boston. So we have people from all over. Oh, Chicago now.
But Russ is from Chicago. You didn't say that.
Russ.
Yeah. Russ is here from Chicago. Okay, thank you for did I say the wrong place? I'm sorry.
Came all the way.
Anyway, I can't list everybody here, but I want to get started, and we're missing my uncle and aunt, and they're going to be coming in, I assume, shortly. But so I'll get started. So the first piece I'm going to play are a couple selections from Bach's Art of the Fugue, and I wanted to. I could talk about hours maybe about it, and I'm not going to do that, I promise. But I wanted to say a few words. So this is from in 1931. Sir Donald Francis Tovey wrote this about the Art of the Fugue. Okay, Bach's last work, Die Kunst der Fuge, has always been maligned. Ever since Philipp Emanuel Bach offered the plates of the original edition for sale at the price of the bare metal, theorists have told us that the work is of mainly theoretical value, but they have not explained to us what its theoretical value is. Okay, so that was 1931. This is a cover of the Emerson String Quartet arrangement of the Art of the Fugue, and I think it's brilliant. You see, it's a bunch of empty chairs. And so this is kind of symbolizes. I couldn't find the quote, but somewhere years ago I heard a quote that it was like an empty room with dust mites in the air. Anyway, it's very hard to describe. This whole book, Gödel Eschel Bach, really influenced my whole career. And in it, computer scientist Douglas Hofstadter compares Bach with Escher, the artist, and also with Gödel. So Gödel, his big claim to fame is he proved that mathematics was incomplete and was always be incomplete, and it could not be completed because of self-references. So he wrote in this book about the Art of the Fugue he says, in the art of the fugue, Bach uses a very simple theme in the most complex possible ways. Skip here. He says, at the end, he inserted his own name, coded into notes as a third theme. However, upon this very act, his health became so precarious that he was forced to abandon work. One day near the end of his life, without warning, Bach regained his vision, but a few hours later he suffered a stroke, and 10 days later he died, leaving it to others to speculate on the incompleteness of the art of the fugue. It just ends in the middle of a measure. Could it have been caused by Bach's attainment of self-reference? And in fact, it's very interesting because so the letter is B-A-C-H. So in the Hebrew solfege, H, we don't use H as a letter of the musical scale, but they use H for the letter B in the scale. And the letter B is B flat. So this theme could actually spell out his name. And in fact, he uses very often the Bach number. So if you add up the value of each of the letters, like 2 for B and so forth, then you get 14. And so there's a lot of things repeated like 14 times and so forth. Anyway, it turns out that if you go through mathematically, there's actually like a golden ratio between many different pieces of the piece in terms of the number of measures and everything. And modern scholars think that he ended it in the middle like that for a reason. I mean, that it wasn't unfinished, that actually it was planned that way to not be finished, just like we never really finish what we're going to do in life. So anyway, just one last quote, and then I want to play you the theme so you can know what to listen for. So Glenn Gould said about this, "It's the most difficult thing I've ever approached. You've got to keep it going. How do you do that? There's never been anything more beautiful in all of music." So it's definitely appreciated nowadays, and I'll be playing 2 selections from it, but I just want you to know what to listen for. So just very briefly, the theme of the art of the fugue is this, okay? Works into everything, except in different ways. So like in the one that I'm going to be playing, number 8, let me actually pull it up from here. So he turns it into this. It's inverted in a variation. And in that same fugue, it starts like this. But then the second theme is very different. And these things all work together so that you end up like this. That's the number 8, which I'll play. And then the 9th one has two themes in it, and you'll hear the second one is the original Art of the Fugue theme, which I played at the beginning. It's very interesting to look at because this is the way it looks when he wrote it. And for example, some of them are like mirror images of each other, so that there's like one that has like the notes going up and then the exact same thing with the notes going down, and that's like a separate piece. So it's all mathematically very, very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to walk out of the room and make a formal entrance, And please don't clap unless I'm standing up at the end of pieces. So like I'm going to play these 2 Bach pieces one after the other. And I'm going to take my shoes off because I like the pedals better with my bare feet. So please forgive that. So, thank you all for being here. So something very different next. So I'm going to play the big sonata in E minor by Frances Price, Florence Price. Thank you. So she was rediscovered in '79 when I finished college. So I mean, all the time that I was trained as a musician growing up and whatever, nobody knew her music. And she wrote in the, she was born in like 1887, and she grew up as a African-American composer, musician, and was writing heavily in the 30s and the 1930s. She played, her music was played in major orchestras, and she was known during her lifetime. But then after she passed away, she was forgotten and rediscovered in the library, I think at Yale, and by a student there. And in like '79, who went ahead and started studying, you know, what had ended up writing a biography about her. Frances Price was a very interesting person, and I don't have time to go into her whole life. Recently, she's been kind of very popular and resurrected because with the interest in trying to bring back African-American composers and artists to the public sphere. Though actually, she wanted her music to be appreciated for itself. I mean, she very much was a believer that her music should be able to stand on its own. Not because she believed it was perfect. I mean, she said no artist is ever satisfied with what they do. But she still wanted it to be able to be considered. So she published her first piece of music when she was 11 years old in Little Rock, Arkansas. Her father was a prominent dentist, a black dentist who also had both white and black patients. He was the one of three known black dentists in the whole country at that point. And they were really of the upper crust of black society in Little Rock, Arkansas. And she went to the New England Conservatory of Music when she was 16, and she finished 2 4-year degrees, separate degrees in 3 years there. And neither of those was composition, so she studied composition from the director of the conservatory on the side. And then she went back to the South, to Little Rock, and then to Atlanta, and ended up, it's a long story, which I won't get into, but she had not a very easy life. She went back to Chicago. And interestingly, it was really, there really wasn't like an African-American musical community, but there was like a woman's, it was actually maybe even more difficult to publish and perform as a woman at that time in the country than it was. Black musicians were maybe just not known of in the classical sphere, but women were also, there were only like 3 women published musicians at that time in the whole country, you know. And so she was part of this women's group, and they were really the ones that helped her, you know, copied her scores and so forth. And actually, the black kind of Harlem Renaissance and so forth was not so interested in her, partly maybe because she was a woman, and they were also they were very interested in building up, you know, the black arts in the country. They weren't necessarily interested in doing it with a woman. But anyway. To make a long story short, she wrote like over 1,000 pieces. Many of them were lost. I mean, like her second symphony is just completely lost. Nobody knows where it is. But maybe it'll be found, because not long ago they discovered a storehouse of hundreds, including a whole symphony, her 4th symphony, in the attic of a building that was going to be torn down in a house. And I'm not going to go into any more detail on that. But I think that she's one of maybe the best, the greatest American composer who lived, you know, and so I think that her music should really, you know, carry forward. And I'm saying that not just that there weren't other great American musicians. I mean, certainly she should be compared with someone like Copland or Gershwin or someone like this. But the thing is that a lot of the American composers were really coming from the European school. And they were really European composers who happened to be in America. But she was an American composer, and you'll see it sounds like American music, you know. And so hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's well, I'm sure you will. So so it's got something for everyone in it. So what happens here? Get in the right place. I'll walk out and in again like before. Okay. now we have a real treat. So, oh, sorry, did I drop something? My sister, of course. So, we have the pleasure of hearing Thomas King. You're going to introduce the piece, but I'll introduce, other than the fact that you're a professor of music out in Bloomington and the wonderful husband of my teacher, so I don't know your full pedigree. But they spent time in Germany and Austria, right? Teaching, and many of their students are very prominent today. So if you saw Porgy and Bess at the National Opera this year, then Porgy was a student of theirs when he was 16 years old, and now he's playing Porgy at the Kennedy Center. So they have a lot of famous students. Recently there was an opera performed in Atlanta, a new opera, and it was Vicki's student who composed it. So they're quite prominent with their students, and they put up with me anyway. So I'm going to let Tom introduce the piece, though. So it's just a short song, but it's a very nice one, and it's Brahms, and I'll let you say something about it.
Thank you. Dein blaues Auge, the beautiful, beautiful blue eyes. So Brahms himself chose this text to just pour out his beautiful music about being in love with someone who has blue eyes. And it's just the sweetest, sweetest thing you'll ever hear, as far as I'm concerned. And it's only 2 pages long. 1 page for each eye. Okay. Dein blaues Auge hält so still, ich blicke bis zum Grund. Du fragst mich, was ich sehen will, ich sehe mich gesund. Es brannte mich ein glühend Haar, noch schmelzt das Nachgefühl. Das Deine ist wie See so klar und wie ein See so kühl und wie ein See so kühl. Thank you for having me. All this way.
It's a great pleasure. Last time, Tom taught me about stage fright. So he's actually an expert in teaching how to avoid stage fright.
I chose that topic for my doctoral thesis because I don't have it. And I thought, I've got to figure out what's going on with all these people. So, and if anybody's read it, it may help them a little bit. But you just stand taller and you look people in the eye and you go for it. That's how it works. That's the whole thesis. No, no, that would have been a B-, I'm afraid. I had to write a bunch more. Well, the next piece is Brahms. So what could you want? What could you want? I mean, really. This piece is from an entire work called the Liebeslieder Waltzer, the love song waltzes. So every piece in it is a love song in some way or another. And Brahms shows up with this way and that way and the other way and the other way and so on and so forth. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And in this case, the waltzes then make it even more fun because everyone can kind of move along with what's going on. So that makes it pretty. And then he asks for two pianists. So we just happen to have two sitting right there, ready to help out as we go through this. Okay, should I translate a little bit?
Yeah.
Yes, I should say this. Okay. Just a second. Yes. The whole idea is all of the Germans love being outdoors and the nature. And so he's drawing in nature and the love and the back and forth. And then if it's a waltz, then it's just the most luscious 3/4 time you would ever want to hear. So it's just, every one of these is a love song in a little bit different way. Okay? Licht, dort außen im Vorbereich, die Füße werden dir, die Zarten zu nass, zu weich. Nicht wandle, mein Licht, dort außen im Flurbereich, die Füße werden dir, die Zarten zu nass, zu weich. Liebe grüßt und dort die Wege, die Stege dir. Die überreichlich trennte dorten, das Auge mir. Liebe strömt sind dort die Wege, die Stege dir. So überreichlich trennte dorten das Auge mir.
Thank you, Thomas and Vicki. So, we're at the end here. The last piece I'm going to play is very interesting. So we were, we went to, Kathy and I, my wife, as you all know, we like to go to the symphony, and we heard this pianist here, Thibodeau, play Khachaturian's piano concerto, and it was very nice. And then, like 2 days later, we're listening to Sirius XM in the car, and they play him, and it has this picture on the, on the console, and there he's playing this French song, in Avril à Paris, and it was just the most beautiful thing I ever heard. And so I started looking up about it, and I had to order this music from Japan. It's a very interesting story. So you can see it's got like a Japanese forward in it. It's French music, and it's published in Japan. So it says here in 1956 or thereabouts, the Belgian-based Lumen label released an extended play 45 RPM record called Mr. Nobody Plays Trenet. It contained fabulously creative and entertaining piano settings of 6 songs by the French singer-songwriter Charles Trenet, who was 1913 to 2001. The identity of Mr. Nobody was unknown until fairly recently, when it was revealed to be that of Alexis Weissenberg, Before I met him for the first time in 2004, I'd assumed that the reason for not issuing the recording under his own name had something to do with the fact that at that time, a serious classical pianist dabbling in such trivialities as popular song would most likely have been compromising his own career. How times have changed, he says. So it goes on. It turns out that this is written by Hamlin, who's another famous pianist. And so he popularized these pieces, but he turns out that he made contact with the daughter of Weissenberg, and she actually found the manuscripts in the attic. And he had gone ahead and transcribed them from these 45 records. But they're a little different, so he has both sets of music in here. So anyway, I will play this one.